Hello and welcome back, everybody. We've got ourselves yet another two-man show. We're on a little streak here. We're missing another piece of the main three. This time it's Jared, kind of AWOL. Didn't really say anything to us, but me and Brett got you covered this week.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to start. Brett's going to tuck you in since we're getting you covered.
Wow. Okay.
That's bad, sorry.
That was very bad. So we're gonna start off with the review for week 9. Some interesting matchups.
Yes.
First one. We'll start slow. So first one, myself and Devin. Devin pretty much took the win with this pretty easy matchup. He has the cheat code of Joe Mixon in Houston. Stroud doesn't know how to find the end zone, so he's kind of the go-tos. But it didn't really matter. He was going to win anyways. So on to another matchup that was a little bit closer and wasn't picked at all last week for predictions. Ross took down DJ.
Yeah.
Dale himself. Nail biter matchup, 3-point difference.
I'm freaking pissed.
Ross pulled out a win with Cooper out in the Komet Goose Egg, and Dale left a lot of points on the bench.
Yeah, for those that don't know, my max points for this week, if I had started a perfect lineup, would have been 234. Nobody else in the league would have touched that. Well, I didn't start a perfect lineup. In fact, I probably made every wrong start-sit decision I could have this week, and, lost
That happens
by...
when you have too many good pieces.
Do I have too many good pieces? Because the starting lineup doesn't look like it. I mean,
Yet to be determined.
The concussion you can't really factor that in. I mean, that's rough for Olave. But...
Yeah, concussion/retirement. We'll get to that. Another matchup: Jared versus Josh.
This was a big one.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't really close. Jared's team kind of just had a few guys carry for him, but it was like very few and in between.
Zay,
Zay had a great game, and although Patrick Mahomes, his nickname is bad. Patrick Mahomes good? Question mark.
He might be back. He might be
back. Next matchup was Hunter over Adam. Just a complete domination. Pretty sure.
Adam is now down. His big four at the start of the season has turned into Barkley.
Yeah, I mean, again, Hunter with the Lamar and Joe Burrow stack is kind of OP. But essentially, Lamar, Kamara, and Joe Burrow would have taken down Adam this week. So
yeah.
You can put that into kind of perspective.
Those three would have almost beat my starting lineup too. So
that's true. Yeah. Moving on to Kumped versus Disco. Kumped took down Disco. Essentially, it's one band of misfits versus another, and 1-1.
His second win of the season.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting for the later stages. Then the final matchup was JGF versus Clint. JGF just narrowly beat him with 4 fantasy points. Clint unfortunately doesn't have King or Henry to win him this week, but I'm pretty sure that he's hoping to lose. So I don't think he'd be too mad with the outcome.
Probably
so.
Not.
So yeah, so that's the quick little recap from last week.
Yeah. Speaking of things that are almost as bad as my start-sit decisions last week, we've got our bold predictions from myself, Jared, and Clint. So Clint predicted a wild Dak Prescott one. I've condensed it down for the sake of this, but to remind everybody, he predicted 335 and 3 touchdowns and an interception to Jesse Bates. Dak went 18 of 24, 133 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Now he did only play 3 quarters because he tore his hamstring partially off the bone. I don't know if I've heard an injury sound quite that painful in my life, but so Dak's out for at least 4 to 6 weeks, and I'd be surprised if it's only 4 to 6 weeks personally. That noise you're hearing is Jared joining the show, so we'll go to Jared for his quick thoughts. Jared, what do you think about your Dak injury here? Did you hear about this?
I did indeed. It means the Cowboys season is cooked, even if they added Jonathan Mingo.
Jonathan Mingo?
It's funny if you think that would have changed anything anyway. Yeah, I agree. I think the Cowboys should tank, honestly. But anyway, from one terrible quarterback prediction to another, we'll jump to mine. I predicted Bo Nix to have 350 total yards and 3 touchdowns. He was 19 to 33 for 223 and a pick. No touchdowns in the passing game. He did have 36 rushing yards. And Bo Nix might have found his actual best thing in the NFL. I'm going to start calling Bo Nix White Terrell Pryor because the catch that he made against that Ravens defender was wild. It was a contested catch and he made it. So Bo Nix got a 2-yard touchdown catch for those that don't know what I'm referring to. So White Terrell Pryor. Clint, there's a nickname for your Bo Nix. Anyway, and the final piece of this terrible trifecta that we had going on last week. Jared, you actually had this one, so now that you're here, you wanna talk about Joey Flacco?
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much bombed this the whole way across the board. And, I followed it up with that. This game, honestly, might have been the worst football game played this season. It was bad. It was bad. Someone gave a number of how many turnovers there were in this game. It was just a rough game. But anyways.
Joe Flacco made Anthony Richardson look good.
Yeah. Well, actually, Anthony Richardson would have had the same passing yards, but only 4 completions.
True.
So, he had a better completion percentage.
4 of 27 for 179. What's the difference?
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been the line for,
My God.
for Anthony Richardson. But obviously, 0 touchdowns. He had an interception. I think he fumbled, too, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah. Like you said, 16 of 27 for 179 yards. So we were pretty much just off the whole way. Bo Nix was probably the closest to get there.
Wild, dude, because he was like 100 yards off.
Yeah. But
and 2 touchdowns.
We definitely weren't cooking on this one.
We thought we were. We thought we were geniuses. So yeah, we wanted to do that first because of how bad those predictions were. So now we're gonna go to the injuries here. I'll take over the injuries so Jared can have some time to prep for this week's bold prediction while we go through the rest of the show. So highlighting our injuries, unfortunately, Brett said it earlier when he was joking about retirement. Chris Olave got another concussion, and the funniest part about the Chris Olave concussion, I think, is what happened on Twitter. Obviously, nothing's funny about the guy getting hurt, but Michael Thomas went off on Twitter. He went on a rant about Derek Carr because Olave's concussion in this game was 100% on Derek Carr.
Disagree.
He pretty much threw him to the grave with a hospital ball, and Olave got his crap rocked, for lack of a better term. But he did get 15 yards, so good job, Derek Carr, on moving the ball down the field, I guess. Anyway, I'm not salty.
Team player.
And as we mentioned, Dak tore his hamstring partially off the bone, which is just, that sounds terrible. Out 4 to 6 weeks. The Bengals did lose Zach Moss for this season to a neck injury. They did trade for Khalil Herbert.
Yeah, I think Zach Moss is on his way out, regardless of.
Yeah, Chase Brown had been taking over the workload anyway, but that was a wild game. He got a ton of work this week. CeeDee Lamb. This is another pretty big one. I'm talking about Adam's team. Another brutal blow for him. He did have a limited practice with a shoulder injury. I believe what I was hearing is a suspected AC joint sprain, which is like the outside part of your shoulder. So limited practice on a Wednesday, I think, is a good sign that he'll play this week. But without Dak, I don't know what you can expect from him. AJ Brown, I don't even remember whose team he's on.
Is it not Devon's? Oh, okay.
AJ Brown has an MCL sprain. That's what DK Metcalf has been dealing with, and he's missed 2 games. He's limited Wednesday. That's a good sign. But, I mean, DK Metcalf just missed his 2nd game with an MCL sprain. There's different grades to sprains, obviously, but I'd say I don't personally expect AJ Brown to play this week, but I'm not an injury expert by any means, so we will see on AJ Brown. Another one. Drake London has a hip pointer injury, which is basically just a bruised hip that hurts a lot. He actually did this on his touchdown, a la Adam Thielen. Went up high.
Must have been the celebration.
His celebration was laying on the ground, writhing in pain because he landed directly on his hip after jumping 5 feet off the ground.
Was he not standing on his head at one point?
I think that was last week, Brett.
Oh, okay. That's what we're talking. Oh, well,
You can vet that. You can vet that while I go through the rest of these. Just
okay.
Tell me if I'm wrong.
Last week was that week.
I thought that was on the. I don't know.
I don't know either.
And now this one's interesting. Keon Coleman has a wrist injury. It's really weird. I think the word that's been thrown around is sprain, but also some reports saying there could be a fracture. And Sean McDermott just said it could be more than just a week. This dude's been breaking out since Amari Cooper arrived in Buffalo, so that's a tough injury for a rookie to have up here. And, talk about Adam's team getting all these injuries. Let's go back one more time because Michael Pittman, he sprained his finger. I don't know which one. I'm not that well versed in it. Also, a back injury. He was not seen at Wednesday's practice. So, in addition to the hamstring earlier in the season for him that is probably still going on because it was supposed to be 4 weeks a couple weeks ago. I joked to Brett before the show that I was going to put everything on Michael Pittman's injury designation because it seems like what's going on here. And yeah. Those are all the big fantasy relevant injuries we have for you. There were some trades though. We did have the NFL trade deadline, and since we got a couple Steelers fans here, we're gonna start with the most fantasy impactful trade in my mind that happened this week. Mike Williams is a Pittsburgh Steeler.
He is indeed.
So do either of you want to take the floor here and?
Yeah, I mean, so my thoughts on this, obviously this season for him has not been great. He's not got a crazy amount of targets. But at the same time, he hasn't done a ton with them. He's actually done pretty well with yards per a catch, I think, across the times where he has caught the ball. So it looks like he's, and he always has been kind of a deep ball guy. So I would expect more of the same as he joins the Steelers. I think it's definitely an upgrade talent-wise for the Steelers. I don't know if it dramatically changes their offense. I think what the offense could use is more a Deontay Johnson than a Mike Williams, in my opinion. I was still happy we got somebody because I thought there was a good chance we ended up with no wide receiver, and I think that would be a mistake.
So you think Jacoby Myers would have been a better fit, is what I'm hearing?
Yeah. Some short yardage. Yeah, I would think.
I mean, Roman Wilson is supposed to be that.
Yeah,
technically.
But we'll never see him on the field.
Right, yeah, for some reason.
You can't jump on a moving train, guys. Can't jump on a moving train. Russ did it, but no, Roman Wilson can't.
Yeah, Mike
Nope.
reminds me, like I sent in the chat earlier in the week, he reminds me of like a Plexico Burris type guy.
Yeah.
Or like a Mike Wallace when they brought, those two tall deep ball guys.
Jump ball. Contested catch guy. Ugh.
So it'll be interesting.
It could be weird. Yeah, you guys are right. I don't know. Like, this doesn't really make sense. This is just another outside guy. The Steelers don't really have a slot guy. I mean, you could run Pickens from the slot. I feel like that would work. He is twitchy enough and fast enough.
Yeah.
Like, he's an
I would
athletic
rather
receiver.
run Pickens from the slot than Mike Williams.
Oh,
from the
100%.
outside.
100%.
Yeah, maybe he'll turn into like a CD where
Yeah,
you
I
can throw
mean,
him across the middle and things like that.
I think this does give them, like, being able to line Pickens up in different positions will help unleash him a little bit more, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I still don't think they do enough across the middle with
Now, I don't think it
Yeah,
really
I agree.
matters. I think this is a good addition for the Steelers this season. But this week, I'd be terrified if I'm a Steelers fan because I will not be betting on the Steelers in this game. The Commanders' offense has looked great. Their defense started awful and has been really like ratcheting up recently. Dan
on
Quinn has
paper,
done
they're still not great though.
Dan Quinn has done an outstanding job with this defense. I mean, they've started to make offenses look bad. And
I mean, they almost lost to the Giants, so.
yes, but the Giants' defense has also been very good, and that's kept them in the game. But they also, the Commanders, just traded for Marshawn Lattimore from the Saints, who is still one of the premier corners in the league. And you know what? The Commanders' secondary was their big weakness, so those two things combined to me, like, this is a scary defense for any wide receiver or quarterback to go up against. Don't know if you guys had any
I'm
thoughts.
happy they were. We're happy. I'm happy I'm getting them this week. 2 weeks from now, I'd be more worried about this Lattimore acquisition. He'll be involved, but 2 weeks from now, he'll be a lot better piece than he will be this week.
Brett?
But
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a guy to look out for. Yeah, but also the Steelers aren't. If they run their offense correctly, they shouldn't be throwing the ball too much. And as long as the defense does what the Steelers' defense does, we shouldn't technically have too many like deep drives or like long drives. So
truly, they're not going to score more than 14 points. So
Oof.
yeah, I'd be more worried about the Commanders' offense scoring points versus the Steelers' defense than us scoring against their defense.
It's a good point. It's a good point indeed. With all that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into the preview for this upcoming week of games. Up first, we're going to start right at the top, work our way down. Myself versus Adam. The only way I can lose to Adam is if I start all the guys that suck like I did last week. And I don't think that many people are going to suck this week for me to lose to Adam. So, don't know if you guys had any other thoughts or comments.
Adam seems in a rough position.
And no Chubb this week either.
yeah. No, I would agree. Unless your team has to collapse like it did last week, you'll be okay. This should
And
be easy.
even that kind of collapse I would have still beat Adam by 35. So,
I was gonna say even if you collapse, I think you're fine.
in theory. And now look at this. I mean, these are fully edited lineups. I believe these will, outside of one or two changes on Clint's side, these look like the full starting lineups. And the 0-9 team is a big favorite over the 3-6 Clint here.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it.
And I didn't put a lot of thought into this game, but yeah, I think I don't think you can lose this, Brett.
Yeah, I'm trying to throw some trades around, so if you got an inbox message,
Except
check it out.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah,
I don't have one, so.
Well, I know you don't need anything. I would
yeah.
assume.
True.
But yeah, it's to me it's gonna suck winning, But like seeing Kump win last week and put him at
7.
7 or something like that.
Yep.
That makes me a little more
Gives
okay
you some breathing room for that
winning
first
this.
overall pick.
Yeah, exactly. So, I
The
mean, there's a
Ashton
chance my
Jeanty
team
prize.
tanks. Exactly.
There's that chance.
Hmm.
The almighty Jeanty.
That's right.
Jared, do you have any closing thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, it's mostly to me. It's just a matter of looking at. I mean, even his running backs aren't
Yeah.
anything to scoff at. Like, I mean, Aaron Jones. I mean, Rashad White's truly kind of a disappointment. Obviously, this
He's
season.
been good the last month.
He still doesn't have a touchdown though, does he? Oh no, he did get one last week finally.
He has 4 touchdowns on the season.
First
Why did I
rushing
think
one
he
last
didn't-
week.
That was his first rushing.
Yeah, you're right. The last 3 weeks he's kind of turned it on. Before that, he was kind of in the dumps. But anyways, between those two running backs, that's not bad. He's got Trevor Lawrence, who seems like he's starting to win fantasy games. Can't win regular games, but
Hey, that trade not looking too bad.
Well,
no, it's not.
maybe
No, it's
Brett.
not.
Maybe Brett will make like the Republicans in their popular vote and get his first win in a long time this week.
He may.
Yeah.
Next, we've got Ross and Kumpt. Both these teams coming off upset wins. I don't see a world where Kumpt can make it back-to-back upset wins, but hey, that's what you play the games for. I think Ross is going to take this one.
Yeah, I think this will be pretty much a blowout here. Ross's team proves that his first round pick is not as low as I was hoping it would be.
It still could be. It's based on playoff finish.
For sure. It's just, until Derrick Henry gets injured or something,
gosh.
his team is dangerous.
Is this a
I
prediction?
think. No, I'm just saying.
Okay.
I'm stating a fact. If Derrick Henry
Oh my
stays
gosh.
healthy and continues to play the way he is, or does, then I think this team is dangerous in the playoffs.
Dangerously scoring 135 points? 138, sorry.
Is that what he's averaged?
That's what he scored last week when he beat me. My team
yeah.
just
I think he's averaged 160. I could be wrong about that though.
somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah. So that's my thought. I think he'll win this pretty easily, though. I think there's a chance that Derrick Henry himself beats Rob's roster. So
That's wild. That's an insane. That would be nuts. Maybe a sneak peek there. Brett, do you want to add
Bold
anything
prediction.
to this?
Derrick Henry, 100 fantasy points.
Anyway, we're gonna slide on over. We got Jared and Disco. The inverse records here. Jared, you gonna start Isaiah Likely?
I haven't looked at
Again?
any lineup this week, obviously.
He's rolled out for this week already, but he was a good
Well.
luck charm for you last week. He got Mahomes to go.
Hey, maybe you should stay in.
Maybe he should.
That's all it
Maybe
takes.
he's helping out Zay Flowers. You know. I think Jared wins this. I don't really think there's too much to talk about in this matchup.
You got Bryce Young on the other side, so you better watch out.
He got his first career kneel down in victory formation this past week. So go Bryce Young. It only took the Saints having their entire receiving corps sent to the hospital.
Yeah. Finally got to run a play where he didn't have to worry about looking over the line.
Wait, what?
You just had to sit behind it.
Oh, I see. On the kneel down, I see what you're saying.
Mhm,
Got
mhm.
it. Jared, do you have anything to add to this presumable beatdown?
No, I mean, assuming Juju is good to go, we're
you
going to
say
have the
that?
Patrick Mahomes, Juju Smith-Schuster
Stack.
stack, and I'm going to go undefeated from here on out.
Dang. Wild prediction right there. Now we've got Hunter 9-0, looking to go to 10-0, and I'm sorry JGF, but I just don't think you're gonna stop it.
It'd be kind of cool if like Lamar and Burrow ended up running into each other at some point and losing both knees.
Is this
Whoa.
is this a prediction?
As a Steelers fan, that would be acceptable.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Hunter wins this one pretty easily, though.
Okay. I guess Brett agrees because he didn't say anything else. We're gonna move on. This is the big matchup of the week. Although I think it's lost a little bit of muster with the recent events and what's going on this week. So we've got Devin and Josh, the number 2 versus number 3 team in the league this week. But Josh's team has kind of hit a wall and run into some injuries. I mean, Josh just lost Dak. DK Metcalf's been out and he's on bye. The Packers are on bye, so Josh loses 2 normal starters in Jaden Reed and Jordan Love. T. Higgins is doubtful to play for Thursday night. That'd be another start option for Josh. And only has 1 quarterback this week because of Jordan Love bye and Dak injury, so I just don't see a world where Devin loses this, quite frankly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Josh rolling with Danny Dimes. Danny Quarters, my bad.
Yeah.
He's got to score
Not
for
a good
2
look.
quarterbacks this game, so.
Hey,
If he
he's
can
got
put up
a good
40.
matchups. He's got a good matchup. Neighbors and Daniel Jones could have a big game against the Panthers.
That's true.
He needs like 40.
From both of them, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Needs a big game out of them and the Lions offense. You got
Yeah.
Gibbs,
Laporta.
J-Mo, and Laporta.
He needs Calvin Austin to catch another 70-yard touchdown pass here. That'd be nice.
Yeah, well, it's
Does
possible.
does this league have return yards?
No.
No.
Ah,
Yeah, he only scored 20 against the Giants.
Yes, he did.
Which, I mean, 20 is not bad, but
could have been more. In the clap staffs.
20 is not bad, but you know what is bad? 11. Brett, how's that correlate?
What?
Well, Brett missed it. 20 is not bad, but what is bad is 11 yards.
Oh, yeah.
I was gonna say I can feed it to him if we need to.
Yeah, so we're
11.
right into the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my bust for the week was Puka. Came
played-
in, caught 1 ball for 11 yards, and decided, I'm done. So he punched some guy and got ejected.
Maybe he needed to use the bathroom.
See,
Maybe. I mean, you could have just asked someone. But
well, yeah, I mean, he played almost the whole first half. And watching that Rams offense in the first half, it made me want a Puka. And I can see why he threw a punch. And along with busting for fantasy games, he also busted for his team because, well, he was off the field. But from one bad to more bad, I hate to keep doing this to you, Adam, but I got to go back to your roster again. Kyler Murray, worst week of the season, one of the worst games of his career. Actually, I believe that might have been his single worst fantasy performance of his career outside of an injury game. Hit 3 fantasy points this week, and it was indeed the worst of his career outside of an injury. So, 13 completions, 154 yards, no touchdowns. He also lost a fumble and only ran for 6 yards. And I don't know what's happening with this Cardinals offense, but the first 3 weeks, Kyler was running, and it was opening up a lot in the passing game for them, I feel like. And it's almost been like a correlation of when he runs, their offense is clicking, and when he doesn't, they got nothing going. So, the only exception being Week 8 against the Dolphins. But
they also didn't need to do much, like, from a quarterback's perspective, right? Because they were up so much.
Yeah.
That the rushing
Sure.
guys kind of just took over. So
Amari DiMercado, absolutely torched.
Yeah. I wavered him in so many leagues last year because I saw him on a lot of fantasy shows. Dropped him off all the rosters, though, because, you know, as you do. And then, of course, he drops that type of game.
Yeah. Jared and I are keeping the theme of bad quarterbacks, going back to our busts from our bold predictions from last week, and we're gonna feed it back over to Jared to talk about his other bust.
Yep. So my bust for not quarterbacks necessarily, but just one that I got to see up close and personal
Oh,
was Jordan Love.
you
It
love
was just
that.
uh, he didn't love that. It was just a rough game. I mean, someone said that is the case. He has thrown an interception in every game he's played in this year. Um,
Plus an extra 4. Sorry, 3.
yeah, no, yeah, it's been not a great. I don't know. Not that I think Jordan Love is a bad quarterback, but there's definitely in the last 2 weeks have been kind of rough. I guess he did leave the game the week before though, so that didn't help his fantasy points. But yeah, he had 273 yards on 23 completions, um, 0 touchdowns. As I was saying, he had a pick, and then he also had 3 fumbles. So did he lose any of those? No.
No,
No,
they're
just
all
fumbled it 3
recovered
times.
by the Packers.
Yep. So I mean, and obviously they were playing Detroit, which in my opinion is the best team in the league.
But
So
their
that definitely
secondary is not that great.
no, yeah, no, for sure. But I just think that it's not like the most favorable matchup for him by any means. But still a loss is a loss, and it seems like the Lions are the best out there. And this is not even fantasy related, but don't come at me saying that the Chiefs are better because they're undefeated. I was a Steelers fan, and I got to watch the Steelers go 11-0, and this looks like the 11-0 Steelers. Other than the
Whoa,
fact that we had
this
fat Big Ben and they
this
have
seems
Patrick
like a salty
Mahomes,
Steelers fan to me.
um, this looks like the 11-0 Steelers. They
So,
don't. We won't even get into that, but yeah.
so did the upstart Broncos beat them in the playoffs? Then is that what you're saying? In Arrowhead.
Huh? That wasn't the 11-0 Steelers.
Anyway, moving on. Oops. Jared, you like to talk about your matchup here. Your bust was in your matchup, and your surprise
Yep.
from the week.
Yep. Apparently, Zay Flowers is actually able to be a number 1 wide receiver.
When you don't bet
He
on
said,
him.
when you don't bet on him, yeah.
No, when
We won't
you
even
don't
get
bet
in.
on him, Jared.
Yeah, we won't even get into the game that I bet on him against. That was
You'll
the Tampa
never-
Bay game, right?
Yes, it was the Tampa Bay
Yeah,
game.
okay.
We had one catch and one target.
Yeah, obviously he went off this week. He had 5 catches for 127 yards and 2 touchdowns. 2 long ones, or was it just 1 long one? I can't
It
remember.
was
They were-
like a 30-yarder, and then I think one was longer than that.
Yeah. So, big play stuff. I mean, that's what you love to see if you have Zay Flowers in your league. But he just hasn't. That's his best game this year, and maybe his best game ever. I don't know that he had one bigger.
Yes, because he's never had more than one touchdown in the game. That was his first career 2-touchdown game.
So, great game. Yeah, that would be my pick, though.
Well, speaking of second-year receivers going off for their first career 2-touchdown game, I got my guy. Of course, he's on my bench, but Jackson Smith and Jigba finally showed a breakout that we've been waiting for. The Seahawks needed him in this game. I mean, he was single-handedly the reason they... Did the Seahawks end up winning this game? No, they lost. But JSN pretty much carried them to overtime. I mean, 7 for 180 and 2 touchdowns, and the Seahawks game-tying touchdown drive in the fourth quarter was pretty much all JSN. He had like 60 yards and the touchdown on the last drive to push the game into OT. 13 targets. This was without DK Metcalf, but it's still nice to see that JSN can step up and do that when called upon. So with those being said, Brett, what do you got for us here, bud?
Yeah, so my surprise is a guy who's been in the league for a while now. Put on his best career performance. A guy called Mike Gesicki. Joe Burrow continues to feed his receivers and now tight ends touchdowns every week. So he went 5 for 6 with 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like I said, this is his best career game in the, I think, 7 years he's been in the league. And we also we also were blessed with 2 gritties from the white man himself. So we'll see if that continues, but he looked pretty good in that game.
Shout out to
sure
all those.
did.
Shout out to all those Penn State homers. The weekend started off terrible, but they had some nice tight end performances. Theo Johnson also had a good game for the Giants. But enough with that. We reviewed the bold predictions from last week at the beginning of the show. We're going to end this week's show on our bold predictions for next week. Who wants to start us off here?
I'm going to piggyback right off what we just talked about, which was Joe Burrow throwing touchdowns. And you might think, oh, he's going to predict Joe Burrow to have 5 more. No. This game is Jamar Chase.
Holy crap.
What's up?
I just saw what he did in Week 5 against the Ravens.
Yes.
I forgot.
So that's kind of where I play into this. Is I think Jamar Chase apparently is the kryptonite against the Ravens defense. His first showing against them, he recorded like a third of his entire season's stats. So I'm hoping to see that happen again. I'm predicting Jamar Chase to have 200 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Ravens, which seems pretty lofty. He had 195 in Week 5 against them, and 2 touchdowns in that game as well. So I'm hoping that we see that again, and that I start him, and I don't regret that decision.
Was T playing in that game? Do you remember?
I don't know the answer to that one.
I will
That'd be
find
interesting
that out
to-
for you right now.
Be interesting to know, like, because obviously now if it's just Chase, because with
T.
Higgins being
Higgins-
doubtful.
T. Higgins was 9 for 83 and 2 touchdowns in the Week 5 game. So he also
So might be double teaming Chase. Is
Yeah.
what I was getting at. So interesting. So just to jump off one receiver to another,
This is gross.
kind of low yardage, but because he is brand new to a system, and I got to give some love to the Steelers. I'm predicting Mike Williams to go 125 with 2 touchdowns. Like I said, it's his first week in, so it's probably not going to happen. And this would be a very, very bold prediction, but I would love for it to happen.
Would be wild, honestly. I said to Brett before the show when I saw this prediction go in that I would have let him call it bold if it was 50 yards and a touchdown. Because 1, he hasn't had a touchdown this year. 2, it's a new team. And 3, they're playing a very, hot defense. So, respect to Brett for going Mike Williams. A little bit of a homer pick going with the Steelers, but anyway, I digress. My bold prediction, with all the bad start-sit decisions, I decided to make my life even more miserable and officially pulled Tyrone Tracy off the taxi squad because he's playing the Carolina Panthers. And with that comes big games, in theory, unless you're the Saints. My official prediction is that Tyrone Tracy has 170 total yards and 2 touchdowns in this game. And if he doesn't, don't care. He's still going to have a great game.
We will see. Carolina should be a good matchup for him.
Yeah. The note here, Panthers bad. So, I did want to circle back quickly to Jared's Jamar Chase thing. You've done this a lot before, like this season with these bold predictions. You just try and find guys that destroy teams. Or, your Andy Dalton case was find a quarterback that kills on week 3. And we'll see if it works out for you this week as well.
We will see indeed. I've tried to do this before. You are indeed right.
Has it worked well for you? It's kind of hit and miss, I believe.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anyway, we will see you guys next week. But before we leave you, we do have 4 more weeks of water bet videos to pay out. So, without further ado, here they are.
Are we ready?
We've been ready. We've been recording this whole time.
Bro, restart it because we need it to be.
Hit him, dude. He's trying to coach me up.
We need it to be restarted so it's a shortcut because I don't do any editing. Tell us when you. What's the It's not a surprise attack. Jared cheated.
Go, hit him.
Wait. This is the Matrix
Yeah,
one,
you get
so
to
I
do
can
it.
lean.
Lean with it, rock with it.
I broke a couple of them.
You're gonna hit me too high though. I'm not,
Not
gonna be able
sponsored
to
by
kick it
Chick-fil-A.
back at you.
You can try.
Just a little high kick.
Yeah.
Also falls. I mean, I blocked some of it. I think maybe.
Bounce it. Up.
I snapped it way too high.
Bad snap, guys.
Alright, that might have been the worst water attempt in the history of this segment, but we're gonna apparently do this 4 weeks at a time, so we will see you guys in another month for the segment.
Yep. Go Steelers.
Yep. See you. Bye.